Today I'm going to be talking wedding traditions and the things that we will probably be doing and things that we won't be doing and the reasons. We kind of went down this rabbit hole because once we kind of announced obviously our engagement and the wedding, I had a lot of people being like, oh, like, are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? Like, just naming things. And we ended up doing a Google, straight into Google, wedding traditions, and I've got a list. Let's talk about it. Something new, something old, something borrowed, and something blue. I think we probably are going to do this. I don't think I'm going to go excessively out of my way to try and meet the criteria, but that being said, I feel like even now thinking about that, I think I've already got something for every single one of those components. Matching bridesmaid dresses. I know it's really trendy at the moment to do kind of mismatch and do the same color and have bridesmaids pick dresses based on their vibe, their aesthetic, and originally I wanted to kind of give them that freedom to do that. And then I actually started looking at the options and I just can't see myself having, you know, the number of bridesmaids I've got in completely different dresses. I think it would just set off my, like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I tried. I think we're going back to matching dresses for everyone. A veil. Now, I feel like this is something that's more contentious for people who are not on their first marriage, but I will be doing a veil. My dress came with a veil, and so I don't see any reason to not use it. Next up is the father of the bride giving her away. Now, some people will say that this is incredibly sexist or misogynistic or rooted in very old traditions and things like that, but I think there's still a beauty in it. I think there's a lot of symbolism behind it, and we are going to do that as the way our Orthodox wedding ceremony will allow for it, which I think in our particular case is to the top of the stairs before we go into the church and not walking me all the way to the altar, but I feel like I need to confirm that. Saving the top tier of our wedding cake. We are currently looking at a 3-tier wedding cake, and I've heard before that people sometimes take the top tier, so the smallest one, and they put it in their freezer, and then on the 1-year anniversary of their wedding, they defrost it and eat it. I will not be keeping my wedding cake for 12 months because let's be so for real, I'm not getting food poisoning on my 1-year anniversary, and there is also every chance by the time we get to the 1-year anniversary I've forgotten it's in the fridge. Next up is the bouquet toss. Now, traditionally the bouquet toss was like all the women who were like unmarried, they would get up, the bride would turn around and she'd have her back facing to everyone and she'd like throw the bouquet, and whoever caught it would be the next person to get married. I think that's a fun tradition. That's something that's fun to do. People can get involved and it's a little bit of fun. However, I have seen the videos on like TikTok of like people getting like punched and like people fighting over the bouquet. I hope that the people I invite to my wedding know that it's really not that deep. Next up is the garter toss. I honestly don't even think I looked into this tradition properly. I saw what it was, like when I looked online, I was like, oh yeah, the garter toss is a tradition. I'm not going to have my husband stick his head up my dress in front of all of our guests. Like, I'm gonna have elderly relatives there and like my parents' friends and even my own friends, but I'm just, that's not happening. That's a tradition I can't get behind because I'm like, that is so weird. I don't want like my in-laws seeing that. I don't want my family seeing that. I don't want my friends. I don't want anyone to see that. So we will definitely not be doing a garter toss. Also, I'm not wearing a garter for the whole wedding. For some reason, I feel like anyone who does do it, they don't actually wear the garter all day. I feel like it's something that they put on later in the evening right before they do it. Regardless, we will not be doing a garter toss. First looks. I really want to do first looks. I'm going to do it with my husband, obviously, and then I want to do it with my parents, and I want to incorporate his family into it. But I want to emphasize that I'm going to do first looks before the ceremony. I'm not superstitious, and so if he sees me before I get to the church, he sees me before I get to the church. Like, it's not the end of the world if he sees me while I'm getting ready, or, you know, for whatever reason has to give me something, say something, whatever. Like, I'm just not superstitious like that. But I definitely want to do first looks with everyone, and that's like my sister, my bridesmaids, like my bridal party, my parents, his family. Like, I think it's a nice thing to just have raw, unfiltered emotions. First dance we are actually doing, and I've always said I want it to be choreographed. I grew up doing ballet, and the idea of just showing up on the day of our wedding and just spinning around in circles and hoping for the best, I can't do that. So I think we're going to book in for dance classes and kind of get a routine, have someone help us choreograph, because I've picked my first dance song and I don't even know how I would choreograph to that music. So I'm gonna leave it to a professional. Next up is the mother and son and the father-daughter dances. Now, I'm definitely going to be doing one with my dad. I have kind of said it's up to Bubs whether he wants to do one with his mum or not. But factoring in that she doesn't live in the country, they definitely need to like figure out if they are going to do it. They're going to have to practice within that like 1 week that she's here prior to the wedding. Not seeing each other until we get to the altar. Now, like I said, not the end of the world if we do see each other. I just, again, not a superstitious person. I really don't mind. Hens and bucks nights, or a girl's trip away that's a hens do, a guy's trip away that's a bucks do. I don't see a problem with doing those. They don't have to be together. They can be separate, like by genders. The only problem I have is this idea of like your final hurrah, which doesn't sit right with me. Like, you can do a hens, you can do a bucks, you can do it respectfully without disrespecting your partner. Bridal showers. Now, a bridal shower is traditionally something for the bride, obviously, and it's female relatives and female friends on both sides come together to throw her a party and give her presents and stuff. I don't think we're going to do one. Like, his family aren't really in Australia. I'm just not fussed about it. Like, I'm gonna do a bridal luncheon, which is going to be a lot of my girlfriends, but I just don't think there's a need to have another celebration on top of it. Rehearsal and rehearsal dinners. So I don't think we're doing either of these. I know some people like to practice, especially if they're doing it with a celebrant, but I've got a book that runs through the Orthodox marriage ceremony, and so I think we're probably just going to read that a few times before our wedding. And in terms of a rehearsal dinner, like, we really don't do that. It's just a banquet style sit down at a restaurant. You get X number of tables, you get a dance floor. There really isn't a need for a rehearsal dinner, especially considering this is a venue that myself and my family know very, very well. There's no concerns that their food's going to be subpar or we're going to have issues from that perspective. A grand entry or exit. Now, I think that this for us is going to be exclusively for the reception. There is very little wiggle room, if any, when it comes to the ceremony, because our ceremony will follow as closely to tradition as possible. But I do want to do at least a grand entry. I don't think a grand exit is necessary, because the way that like Asian weddings work, people just leave whenever they're ready to like tap out. Like, no one's staying to the very end. I did consider maybe doing a final dance, but even that in itself is like, I'm going to people who are helping me, you know, bump out our wedding and things like that. So I don't think we get that privacy anyway. Next up is honeymoon. We will definitely be doing a honeymoon. We probably won't do it straight after the wedding. Like, we're not going to get married and then leave for our honeymoon. We've picked a destination. Well, we haven't picked 100%, but the destinations that we're looking at when the wedding is happening, they're just not the best seasons to be traveling in, whether that's for weather reasons, whether that's like it's too close to school holidays, things like that, that we're just choosing to factor in because we want our honeymoon to be memorable and peaceful. Gift registries. I feel like there is a very big difference between Western weddings and Asian weddings. I don't think I know anyone who's like Asian that's done a gift registry before, because we normally do cash gifts. And something about like putting together a list of things and almost demanding them from your guest seems a bit not something that we would want to be doing. We will definitely be doing a wishing well that is very stock standard, but no, we will not be putting together a gift registry of any sort. Keeping the dress a secret from the groom. I mean, we're past this because I've already got my dress, but when I first started dress shopping, yes, I definitely wanted to keep it a secret. And then when we actually started doing it and then made the plan to go back to China to get the dress, it just wasn't realistic to keep the dress a secret anymore, especially because there is a language barrier between his mum and I. We speak two different types of Chinese, and originally we were like, oh, you know, in my head, I didn't think this through. I was like, oh, we can like work together and slim it down to a few dresses that we both like, and then I pick one and you don't know which one I've picked. I only liked one dress from the shop that we ultimately bought it from, so process of elimination, he knows what my wedding dress looks like. That being said, I think he's forgotten. Like, he knows what it looks like, but I don't think he was like paying attention to like the finer details. Like, I could probably pull up photos of me from China in like 4 different dresses that I tried on while I was there, and I think he would struggle to tell you which one was my wedding dress. Another tradition that falls onto the Chinese side, and a lot of Asians do this as well, is the tea ceremony, and we will most definitely be doing one. My parents are kind of taking the reins on that, and we are doing it a week before our wedding. I will not be waking up at midnight to do a tea ceremony because we're both Chinese and we're both doing tea ceremonies reciprocal. So like, we serve tea to my family and he serves tea and I serve tea to his family. Like, both families, we're going to be at both residences. Best case scenario, 5 hours. I'm just not willing to add that onto what is already going to be a long and exhausting day. On top of that, I feel like there's a lot of things that are very, very different. Like, the clothes that we wear for the tea ceremony and our wedding ceremony are very different. The hair that I want done vary on both. One is a 100% updo, the other one's like a half up, half down, and then the makeup is going to be slightly different. There's a lot of red and gold in the tea ceremony, and my wedding ceremony is white. It's just not a day I want. I don't want to get to my reception and absolutely hate my wedding day, because I feel like that's going to be the reality. If you do your tea ceremony and your wedding ceremony and your reception all on the same day, that is, like, best case scenario, a 20-hour day. Child-free weddings. I don't think we're inviting that many children, but it is not child-free by any means. I don't think we ever considered the option of a child-free wedding. It's just not us. Asians don't do child-free weddings. And I've got a lot of children. This is in the most non-creepy way. There's a lot of children in my life that I would love for them to be there on my wedding day. For example, there's a lot of kids from my parish that I'm like close to, that I enjoy spending time with, and I don't want to put families in a position where they have to decide between attending my wedding or forking out money for a babysitter or trying to make arrangements for a babysitter. It's a family thing, at least for me. It always has been. I understand that a lot of people do it for financial reasons, but we never considered a child-free wedding. It was never an option. It was never on the table for discussion. Those are pretty much all of the traditions that I wanted to mention. Now, if you think there's something that I've missed, or if you think there's something that I might like to do, please let me know down in the comments below.